You know you found a good product when it performs so well, you forget to do your review. Okay, when I started this channel, and I started working with the bargains or part of it where we reviewed products, I had a plan. Very simple. I was going to purchase a product or an accessory out of pocket, so I didn't owe anybody any good words if they didn't deserve it. I was going to test them for a predetermined amount of time, and then do a review. Whether it's trim restore or compressors or paint or whatever the case may be, all of those items would be purchased by me out of pocket so I could give you a completely honest review. That was the plan. So what happened here? Well, in the case of the Acanii headlight assemblies that we installed all the way back in October of 2023 on our very first video, nothing happened. In fact, the only reason I remembered to do this review was because I came out and noticed that one of the other lights on the Trailblazer had actually burned out. And that's what clicked the light bulb on in my head saying, oh yeah, I need to review those. So let's get started on the review for the Acanii headlight assemblies on our 2004 Chevy Trailblazer. Now, in that first video, almost 2 years ago, I said I wanted to modernize the look of the Trailblazer by installing some LED headlights. We have these old pitted headlights that, to be honest, I don't think I want to repair. So we're going to replace these with something that's new and a little bit more modern and help bring this Trailblazer into the 21st century. But I hadn't actually picked out the brand or the style that I wanted yet. When I finally did, I settled on these headlights manufactured by Acanii. Now, Acanii is a company located in California. However, the impression I'm getting is that this is a clearinghouse for components that are actually manufactured overseas.
It's American components, Russian components, all made in Taiwan.
Now, at the time, I didn't know what brand I was going to purchase. I was just going to window shop until I found something I liked in a price range that I liked, and then we were going to pick it up and we would do the review on it after about 6 months. And I will put a link to their website down in the description below. Now, unfortunately, because I waited so long, these assemblies are no longer available on the Amazon site. However, they are still available on Acanii's main website, so you can check them out there. Now, LED assemblies, depending on the age of your vehicle, the make of your vehicle, and the model of your vehicle, can vary widely in price, anywhere from $60 all the way up to $600. So I wanted to find something that was middle ground or less. And in this case, the assemblies that were manufactured by Acanii came in at about $230. In fact, you can still find them online for around $235, so they haven't really gone up in price all that much in the last 2 years. How do we evaluate these assemblies, especially after 2 years? Well, on the plus side, after 2 years, if we hadn't had a problem, that's a good thing. So we're going to break it down into our simple 3-step process. Step number 1, cost. In the grand scheme of things, how much did they cost and is it considered a bargain? Second thing, ease of use, or in this case, ease of installation. How easy were they to install? And then third, of course, durability. How well did they hold up to the variety of weather we have here in the Midwest? Now, as I said before, the cost of these assemblies can vary widely. Newer model vehicles looking for replacement systems are going to cost you a little bit more, while older model vehicles will probably run you a little bit less, but depending on how intricate you want to get, that can bump the price up as well. So the Acanii light system is kind of that middle ground, around $230, $235, or roughly 45% of the average cost of a headlight assembly for this particular vehicle, about 20 years old. That's not bad. I like the look of them, and it really modernized the look of this 20-year-old vehicle. So, cost and looks, we definitely checked the box on that one. These things absolutely look fantastic. In fact, they almost look stock for this vehicle. If the Trailblazer came out in 2025 in this body configuration, I imagine it would have a light setup similar to this. Now the second thing, ease of installation. This one gets a little tricky. While the actual assemblies are pretty much plug and play, they use the same mounting setup that the stock OEM ones did, there were a couple of things that made it a little bit difficult. The first is the outer rim LED light that comes on, that's supposed to come on as a driving light. Well, I accidentally wired this into the headlights instead of the driving lights. So whenever the headlights come on, the rim LEDs come on as well. Now this is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it actually improves the illumination of the headlights themselves, but it's not really how they were designed. Secondly, because I accidentally tied it into the headlights instead of the driving lights, well, whenever I turn on the turn signal, that frame LED blinks in opposition to the blinker. Now again, this is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because there's no way anybody's going to be able to say that I couldn't tell he was signaling, because this thing flashes bright. So that's a good thing. The bad thing, again, it was not what the system was designed for based on the research that I did. So I wired it in error, but it was serendipitous because it still looks and it works well, and it provides an extra layer of safety when I'm making a turn, because everybody in front of me knows I'm making that turn in that direction. So, okay, we can let that slide to a point, but why did I have that problem? Well, that brings me to the first negative in the Acanii system. Lack of instructions. The instructions were a piece of paper about that big, and it just basically said, connect this to this. But it didn't offer any reference. Now, as an OEM component, they should at the least provide an OEM wiring schematic so you can wire these up precisely. So in that respect, they kind of dropped the ball here. So as far as installation, I got to split the difference here and say that it's not that great. Did it work? Yes. Does it work well for what I did? Absolutely. The third thing was there's a marker light in the upper corner of the Trailblazer's OEM headlights. And that socket is not included with this kit, so you have to save that socket from your OEM headlights. Now this can create a problem because that socket is not readily available, and if you decide to sell your old assemblies before you install these new ones, you're going to find you're missing a component, and that can be incredibly frustrating. The fact that this is mentioned in the instructions but in little print down at the bottom just adds to that level of anxiety, because if you don't look for it, you won't know you need it until it's too late, and then by then you're kind of stuck and you have to do a deep dive to find what you're looking for just to get them to work. I think either they should have included those with these assemblies, or at the very least had something that was a little bolder, a little brighter, saying, hey, don't get rid of your old assemblies, you'll need this component. This is not actually plug and play the way it's advertised, and if you're not paying attention, you could do something very simple that's going to cause a huge headache. So, does it work? Installation as far as plugging the assemblies in? Dead simple. Wiring? Questionable. They don't provide a lot of instructions. The potential for a missing part that brings the entire project to a halt is terrible. Now, what about durability? Well, the fact that I am making this video almost 18 months behind schedule tells you that this thing rocked on the durability scale. And this vehicle sat in the cold. It drove through the harshest weather conditions: snow, sleet, rain, salt, and the lenses are still as clear as the day that I purchased them. The lights have not had a single issue. As I said, it was a different incandescent light that didn't come on that reminded me to do this video. So when it comes to durability and functionality, these things have performed superbly, to the point where I completely forgot to even do this video. So what's our takeaway here? Are these a bargain? Or are they bull? Well, after everything that we went through with regards to having to learn on our own how to wire these up, number one, durability, fantastic. Cost, they were right within that 40 to 45% of average we wanted. But on installation and instructions, I'm going to say that this is still a bargain just based on the cost and on the durability. It's like any other project. If you're doing something you're not familiar with, take your time. Go slow. Because as an old friend of mine always said, you never have enough time to do a job right, but you'll always find the time to do it over. So as far as I'm concerned, these are definitely a bargain, even with the little hiccups along the way. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoy the content we're creating, please be sure to like, share, and hit that subscribe button. Also, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future content. In the meantime, my name is Big Mike. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.